Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are all okay. Hopefully that you will have realised that I'm here today to do a little extra special session for you this morning. So something about, let's say about 15 minutes, something like that. It's a nice, relaxing stretch session. So that's what I'm going to be doing with you today. Okay. So why have I decided to do a stretch session? Well, whenever I do any like the workshop that I did a couple of weeks ago. And whenever there's any stretching in there, I always get lots of comment from people saying, "Oh, the stretching felt lovely afterwards. I felt great." So I thought, why not have a session where we are just focusing on stretching? So that's what I'm going to do with you this morning. Now, normally in this group, I normally keep the stretches and anything that I do quite basic, and I will add some simple things in. But I thought I would add some, well, I don't want to say they're advanced, but they're a bit more challenging, the stretches, so you might feel the positionings on don't feel that comfortable to do them. But the only reason you might be feeling that is because you don't stretch on a regular basis. And that is the problem for a lot of people. Everything can get really tight, particularly on certain areas of the body. So, for instance, the front of the chest, the front of the hips, your lower back can tighten up. The back of the legs are really tight on almost everybody that I see. So, there are certain areas of the body that can really tighten up. And unless we're stretching on a regular basis, they're going to stay short and tight because that's what happens. If you've got a tight muscle, it's generally shortened, okay? So if I use the example of my shoulders, okay, so I'm nice and upright at the minute, the chest is nice and open, but if my muscles are really tight across the front of my chest, this happens. Can you see? It pulls the shoulders forward. That impacts on your posture. So if you do a lot of driving, a lot of sitting, if you're working at the keyboard, at the desk, this can happen, okay, if you're not aware of your posture. So it affects your posture, and then what happens is it impacts on other parts of your body. So you might start to get aches and pains in the neck, shoulder, it work its way down into your lower back, and then you'll be wondering why you're waking up stiff and achy. Chances are it's just that tightness that your body is holding on to, because once everything's shortened and that tension is there, your body doesn't like to let it go very easily. You have to work at it to release it. I often use the example of a stick of chewing gum. I don't even know if you can get them anymore. You remember years ago, you used to be able to get a pack of chewing gum, and it used to be in those sticks, okay? And if you were to take it out of its wrapper and you pulled it, it would just tear, wouldn't it? Okay. But if you put it in your mouth and you chewed it for a couple of minutes and then you took it out and then you pulled it, it would just stretch, wouldn't it? And that's what your muscles are like. Okay. So in order to get that nice stretch, we have to warm them up first, okay? We warm them up first. But to maintain that nice flexibility, that suppleness in the muscles, we have to keep doing it on a regular basis. We can't just do it once and feel better. We can feel the benefit of it sometimes when we stretch straight away. But if we only do it once and then we forget about it for a couple of weeks, it really won't do anything. It's something that we need to keep working on. And I've got some members inside the Strong and Supple membership that really love the stretching, and I know so they tell me, and they just work on it an awful lot, and they're in there 2 or 3 times a week. They have a really good stretch session and they really get some benefit from it. You don't have to do a long stretch session because we're only going to do a short one today. You only need to do a short stretch session to get some benefit. But what you need to do is make it consistent, okay? Even if it's just you find a couple of stretches from today that feel really good and you just do them every morning, okay? After you come out the shower, you do a bit of stretching, loosen you up a bit, and that will help. And that's maybe all what you need, okay? Or you might want to take it a bit further. Once you feel how good you feel in one part of the body, well, why not work on the rest of it, okay? So flexibility, it is all about consistency. You've got to keep lengthening out those muscles, because if you're doing a lot of sitting, a lot of driving, or a lot of walking even, those muscles, if they're working and you're using them, they are shortening. So you've got to lengthen them out again. So if we lengthen them out, we get more movement through the joints, everything feels less stiff. We can move easier, and things like reaching down to pick something up off the floor, simple things like that suddenly become a lot easier. Okay. Now, stretching as well can be extremely relaxing. And for me, I like to add in a little bit of breathing as well, because I find that really relaxing as well. So we're going to start with a little bit of breathing this morning. We're going to do some nice, gentle stretching and some a little bit more advanced, okay, just for you to see the difference in them, okay. But I want to make this session a nice, relaxing session because it's important that we switch off and we take some time for ourselves and we just let our body, well, we stop the mind racing and all those thoughts that, I don't know if you're like me, there's just thoughts going through my head constantly. But it's just nice to just stop and switch off sometimes. Let the body relax, even if it's only for 10 minutes. It can make quite a big difference to your day. So hopefully this session today will help you relax into the weekend. And the replay will be here again, so you can come back and do it again if you want to over the weekend. Now, it is one that you will need to lie down for, okay? So I've just mentioned that you need to have the muscles warm. Okay, so we are going to do a little bit of movement to start off with. So I would always recommend that you do something first. You make sure that you're warm. Don't stretch cold muscles because it's a bit like that stick of chewing gum again. Cold muscles are like that stick of chewing gum that will just tear. You've got to make sure that you're a little bit warmed up, okay? If you do it with cold muscles, it won't feel as easy. And then you might wake up, or later in the day, or wake up the next day and everything feels a bit sore. Okay, and then that'll put you off from doing it again. So make sure that you're warmed up a bit. You could just do it as soon as you come out of the shower because you'll be warm then. If you've just been on a walk, do it then. Or there are plenty of routines in the group. Find a routine, do 5 minutes of movement, and then do some stretching. So I'm going to start on the mat, lying down. Okay. So I think we'll start with a little bit of breathing, shall we? We'll do a little bit of relaxation to start with. So, got my knees bent, arms are relaxed by the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. And again, breathing in through the nose. And out through the mouth. We'll do a couple more times. Now, when you're thinking about relaxing and you're doing this type of thing, and you're focusing on your breath, try and breathe out for longer than you breathe in. So think of a shorter breath in, and then a longer breath out. Because that's when we start to relax, is on that out breath. The heart rate starts to slow. The body starts to relax when you breathe out nice and slowly. Now we'll carry on with that breathing, but we're going to add in some arm movements. So as you breathe in this time, I want you to send your arms up and overhead as far back as they will go. And as you breathe out, bring the arms all the way back down. And again, breathing in. And you want that nice slow breath out again. So the arms have got to be nice and slow as well. The arms reach the floor just as you run out of air. That's it. And then we do it again. So we breathe in as the arms go over. And then breathe out as they come back down. So we'll leave the arms on the floor this time. Let's do the same with the legs. So I want you to breathe in as you straighten out one leg, lengthen it out across the floor as much as you can. And then breathing out, you'll slide the foot back in. Then we do it on the other leg. So we breathe in, we slide the leg away. And breathing out, we slide it back in. So already we're warming up the body a little bit, but we're already starting to open out the front of the hip that can often get a little bit tight if we do a lot of sitting. So let's put the two together this time, shall we? Arms and legs. So as you breathe in, one leg goes out, both arms go overhead, lengthening out through the body. And then breathing out, everything comes back to center. Then on the other leg, we breathe in, we lengthen out through the body. And breathing out, we bring everything back in. Let's do a couple more. This is a really nice one, this one. So we're lengthening out. We're feeling like we're having a stretch, but it's a nice, easy movement. Okay, and we're warming up the joints a little bit at the same time. That's it. Okay, I think we'll rest everything there. Now, this is a nice little stretch for your bum. If you've done a lot of walking, especially if you've been walking up and down hills, lower back, it'll give it a little bit of a stretch. You're going to hug both knees into the chest, and you're going to hug them in as tight as you want to. Okay, hug them in. Shoulders should be nice and relaxed. That's it. Wonderful. Now, I can see there's some people watching, so good morning. So before you disappear, please say hello, because I always like to know who's been following along with me when I've been doing these sessions. Okay, now we're going to stay in this position, okay, but you're going to release one leg. Keep that one knee hugged in nice and tight, bring the other foot down onto the mat. And then I want you to slide that leg away and just completely relax that leg. So now you're getting a really nice opening through the front of the hip there, and you want to relax into that position as much as you can. Okay, if you feel like pulling in the lower part of the back, it might be that you just need to have the knee bent a little bit. You're still opening out the front of the hip a little bit, not quite as much. Okay, so we'll slide that leg back in and we'll switch. So we hug that knee in nice and tight, and we slide the other leg away, and again we just let it completely relax. Just relax it down. And you could stay in this position. You could take a couple of nice deep breaths in and out. And there is no rule really to how long you hold the stretches. You want to at least hold them for 30 seconds. If you hold it much shorter than that, then it doesn't really give the muscles time to lengthen. But if you had the time and you weren't in a rush, I'm going to hug my knees in again, you could hold the positions potentially for a couple of minutes if you wanted to, because the longer you hold the stretch, the more time that muscle has to relax. And then that's when you start to feel the tension just easing out of the muscles. Okay, I'm going to put the feet back down. I think I might come up to sitting this time. Should we come up to sitting? I'm going to roll up. I think I'll do this next one in sitting. Okay, you can do this standing as well. Okay, this is a nice one for side of the body, because we can get quite a bit of tightness through the waist, especially if we often feel some tightness in the lower back, some general aching, the stiffness. So this is a nice one to do. If you're sitting, you've got to make sure that your sitting bones are glued down. Don't let them lift up, okay? So you take one arm up and over, and you flex over to the side. You've got to keep your bum glued to the mat, because if you lift your belly on the one side, so if I did that, then I've lost that stretch. I'm trying to lengthen out all the way down the side of the body here. So you might even feel it from sort of here, from round by the armpit, all the way down to your hip, okay? And then we'll do the other one. We'll take it over to the side. That's it. So don't force the stretch. Just work within your own range of movements. Wonderful. I'm going to come up, I think. I'm going to come up onto my knees to show you the next one. This is one that you can do in standing if you don't want to be on knees. Okay, so the upper back, okay, and the chest, because as I mentioned earlier, we can this chest can tighten up really easily. But we're gonna stretch front and back, because we want to have those muscles nicely balanced through the body. Okay, so we'll stretch upper back first. So you do it in standing with the arms out in front. You're going to hold onto your hands. You're going to reach the arms as far forward as you can, and then drop your head down. Okay, and as you do that, hopefully you can feel a nice stretch sort of in the upper part of the back. So you'll feel it sort of stretching in between the shoulder blades, somewhere around there. Okay, and then we'll release the arms. And then you can bring the hands behind you and just sort of sit them at the top of your hips there. And then just try and pull your elbows as close together as you can. Maybe if I do it from this direction, okay? You pull your elbows together as close as you can. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you take that breath in, you can feel that nice stretch through the front of the chest. You might feel it in the front of the shoulders. And then release. Okay, and you give the shoulders a little roll. Okay, so that is opening out the front of the chest. So you might want to do that one a few times. If you are sitting a lot, it's one that you can easily sneak in, can't you? Every hour or so. Okay, if you feel like you need to straighten up and have a stretch, you can do that stretch. It's a nice little easy one to do. Let's move it on a little bit, okay? So a bit more of an advanced stretch. So this one isn't for everyone, especially if you're not great at kneeling. You need to be kneeling for this one. We're going to open out the front of the hips. I do focus a lot on the hips because it's one of those areas for a lot of women that can tighten up, okay? So we often, the most common thing that I see is tight at the front and weak at the back, okay? So I'm always trying to get people to strengthen the glutes and stretch out the front of the hips, so we get that balance through the body. Okay, so we don't want any imbalances, because those imbalances cause us aches and pains. So we're going to have one leg in front. I've got my foot in front of my knee because I don't want to put too much pressure through the knee joint. Okay, I'm going to be nice and upright, lengthening up as much as I can. Now on this one, you're going to sort of push your hips forward a little bit, so you can squeeze your bum a little bit, okay? And then ease yourself down to this stretch, and this is where you should feel it, okay? So you might feel it through the front of the hip. You might even feel it through the front of the thigh there if you're really tight, okay? But we're not going to hold it there, we're going to come up. So this is more of a dynamic stretch. We're keeping it moving, okay? So we ease down nice and gently, not forcing it, and then we come all the way back up. You can even add in the arms, because then we're lengthening out around the shoulder joints, and the muscles that attach from sort of round the shoulder joints down your back, we're working those muscles as well. Okay, we'll just do a couple of those. You've got to do the other side though, okay? And quite often when you're doing these stretches, we'll do the, oh, let's turn around actually, shall I? I'll turn around and you can see better then. When you're doing these stretches and you're doing them on both sides, you might start to find that you become more aware of where that tightness is in your body. You might find that one side of your body feels quite a bit tighter than the other. I've got one tight hip, it's constantly tightening up, so I'm always stretching it, okay? But you may well find that, okay? So it does make you more aware of where that tightness is in your body. Take the arms up, and then bring them back down. Wonderful. Oh, let's sit, shall we? Come back down to sitting. So again, this is, where's my, oh, I haven't got my supports with me, have I? You'll have to imagine this is a thick cushion. It's not, it's my little towel, but I'll use as an example. We're going to sit with the legs out straight. Now, for a lot of people, if they've got tightness in the body, and it's affecting their posture as well, trying to sit upright like this on the sitting bones with a nice straight spine can be really difficult. Okay, so when I ask people to sit like this, I know they've got tightness because they're either like this and they just can't get right up on the sitting bones, or it's pulling so much on the back of the legs that they need to bend the knees. If that's you, sit on something. Okay, you know I normally have my yoga blocks, don't I, with me? Okay, so you have to imagine that's a bit higher, okay? So normally I'd sit on something a couple of inches, okay, or higher is fine. You can sit on a couple of cushions or something like that. But the higher up you are, the easier it is to do the stretch because you're more comfortable. You can sit in this position more comfortably, okay? So let's do, I'm just thinking, which way am I going? I'll do this way first. So we're going to stretch the muscles around the hips again, okay? So we're going to take one leg I'll tell you which legs I'm using, shall I? So I'm using my left leg, I'm going to cross it over my right, okay? I'm going to pull my left knee across the body to my right shoulder. And then as soon as you do that, you may feel it pulling around here into your bum. You've got to turn your head to the right. You've got to sit up nice and tall and hold that stretch, okay? Now, the more you pull your knee across, the more intense the stretch. So don't over pull. You don't want to overstretch the muscles. You just want to pull it over until you start to feel that bit of discomfort, that little bit of stretching. That's enough. Just hold it there. And this is a nice one to do. I often give this to people if they're experiencing sort of a bit of sciatica and it's only quite mild, and you do it nice and gently. This one can help quite a bit. Okay, on the other side. So the right leg comes over the left leg. Sit up nice and tall. We pull the right knee over to the left shoulder, and then you turn your head to the right. So again, you'll feel it in the hip on the other side this time. And if you had time to do it, you could stay here for a minute or so. If you were enjoying that stretch, you could stay here. I quite enjoy the stretching, even though sometimes it can feel a bit uncomfortable. I still like it. I still like that feeling of stretching everything out. Should we do one more? I'll show you the next one. You can sit for this one as well. I'm just going to twist a little bit so you can see me a bit better. Okay. So this time we're going to have the soles of the feet together. Okay. Now, we're stretching the insides of the legs because this is another area that can tighten up. So if just by sitting like this, if you let your legs relax, immediately you will see how flexible you are. Okay, if your legs are up here like this, you know that there's some tightness going on. If your knees are on the floor, you don't need to worry too much because everything's nice and stretchy already. But what we're going to do is we're going to give it a nice little stretch. Now, the further away your feet are, the easier it is. But if you're like me, I like to have a really good stretch. So I'm going to bring mine in nice and close. So I'm going to have more of an intense stretch. Okay, you can hold onto your toes all around your ankles, wherever you want to. Start with the knees up nice and high and sit up as tall as you can. And then as you breathe out, just let the legs relax. You don't have to force them down. Just the weight of the legs is enough to give you that stretch. And this is one of those stretches that it doesn't feel that nice. If you haven't done this type of stretching before, it can feel really uncomfortable. And you might be sitting thinking there, oh my word, this can't possibly be doing me any good. It just hurts too much. But hurt doesn't necessarily mean harm, okay? We have to sometimes feel a little bit of discomfort. I'm going to bring the legs back up again. And it's just because it might just be that you're just not used to doing that sort of movement and you haven't done a lot of stretching. I'm going to do it one more time because I like this one. So I'm going to relax the legs down again. And quite often for a lot of women, that's all what it is. They're used to moving their bodies in a certain way or stretching in a certain way. So they feel that bit of discomfort. And for a lot of women, especially for those who haven't done a lot of exercise for a long time or haven't been that active and haven't done as much as they should have, feeling those little sort of this tightness that you can feel now in the stretch, and sometimes it just feels uncomfortable just to move arms and legs. And then the next day they may feel like they can feel it, they know they've exercised. It doesn't mean that it's done you any harm. It just means that your body has just woken up a little bit. And your body was designed to move. So yes, sometimes people get a little bit of muscle soreness the next day, especially if you've done no exercise before, but that is normal. The more you do it, the easier it gets, and chances are the next time you do it, you may not feel anything, okay? So with stretching, I think that's enough, isn't it? I think we'll leave it there. I think that's a good selection for you to be getting on with. But remember, with stretching, it's all about consistency, okay? If you've got that tightness, if you find sort of you've got tension in the neck and shoulders, if you've got a bit of stiff, achy back, sometimes it's just because it's a postural thing, because we're sitting or our jobs or driving, we're repeating those patterns and everything tightens up. That causes that stiffness. Ache and pain can eventually appear in the body as well. And sometimes it appears just out of nowhere, and you wonder, well, what did I do? Okay, suddenly you get this pain in your neck, and you think, oh, what have I done? I don't know what I've done. But chances are, it's something that's been building up for a long, long time. Okay, for some people, it's been building up for years, and then all of a sudden, particularly lower backs, I find that it's been building up for such a long time, and then all of a sudden, one day, it just goes, and they don't know what they've done. Okay, but usually for most people, it's just not being active enough. It's not moving your body in a way that you're not used to. Okay. So consistency with stretching is the key. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that little session. I hope it's given you some ideas. We started with some easier ones, didn't we? I showed you some easier ones, and then the last few were a bit more challenging. Okay, so you may have found the positions a bit more difficult to get into, but like I said, it might just be because you've got that tightness in the body. The more you lengthen out, the easier it will get. Okay, start off with the gentle ones, build up to the ones that I did at the end. So I hope you enjoyed that. Leave me some feedback if you're watching it live with me now, or if you're watching it on replay. Just leave me a comment. Let me know how you found it, because if I know you enjoy this type of thing, I can come back and I can do a bit more with you, can't I? If you really enjoyed this morning and you feel like stretching would be really beneficial for you, if you're interested in doing 4 weeks of stretching with me, let me know. Just drop me a comment below and I'll get in touch and I'll send you some details about it. Okay, I'm going to leave it there this morning. Have a lovely weekend. I shall have to plan something for next week, won't I? I'll have a little thing. I'll surprise you early next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you soon. Bye for now.